I've only been living in the States for about 2 months after living abroad for the past 15 years. In this video, I want to share with you some of the goods and the bads that I've found within the sports card world, within the hobby world, as a buyer and seller of sports cards, since I've moved back to the States. Look at the good, look at the bad. Let's get into this. The first good that I want to mention is local sports card shops. I've been in a place where there's no sports card shops. I think this is one of those things where if you have them around, maybe you kind of get bored of them, or you think that you see their limitations all the time. I haven't been around them for such a long time, so even going to imperfect ones that are overpriced or whatever, it's a blast for me. It's like going to Disneyland. So that's one thing that is a very good. On the same time, there is a bad related to this, and I kind of alluded to it already, and that is sometimes, at least in my hometown, we have two sports card shops in my hometown. My town is not as small. It's 200,000 people or so. There's only two sports card shops, and they're a bit overpriced. One in particular, I'll say that. So, I've been going to these two enough times to, they know me at this point. And there's one of the shops that I'm starting to be able to learn how to negotiate to get better deals on some of the cards. Because at the beginning, when I was asking the prices were always just so high. And they're not posted or anything. He kind of has it in his mind what he wants to charge. And at the beginning, when I first started going there, I just was like, wow, these prices he's asking are so high. But I kind of learned that, what I needed to do was go in there, look at a card, look at the comps, come up with my idea of a price, make an offer, and then it was easier to negotiate with him and work with him if I had if I started it. and then at the other card shop, I tried to do that, but I've never been able to get to the point where I can even get to comps yet. Every once in a while there might be a good card where it's like, hey, that's a pretty good deal, I'm gonna go ahead and grab that one, and they'll even throw in a couple bucks off or something like that. But generally it's been a little bit harder there to negotiate. There doesn't seem to be as much room. So that's the negative, is I feel like the sports card shops in my hometown, at least, they're missing a lot of opportunity to create some kind of vibrancy, I would be buying up a lot if I could negotiate some good deals, and if I could really have a large inventory to look through. And these two sports card shops are fun. One of them in particular, I'm going there more and more frequently, building a really good relationship with the owner over there. Both these card shops have been around since more than 30 years or something like that. So they've been in this space for a long time, and they're fun. You go in there and they're messy and unorganized, which is fine. I like it. But there's not even like budget boxes in them. There's not like a $1 box. There's 25-cent boxes, but those are like base commons of 90s junk wax stuff, basically, or some more ultra modern stuff. There's not really like $1 boxes I could look through like I would look through at a card shop and find some little steals here and there. The $1 boxes are full of 20-cent cards. So it disincentivizes me to go there regularly, which is really a shame, because I'm the kind of customer who would be going there much more regularly if there was really a consistent flow of inventory and I could get good deals here and there. I would go all the time. So they're missing out, I think. The next good that's so awesome since I moved back to the US is the possibility of attending sports card shows. I have been wanting to do that so much before I moved to the US. It was like, sports card shows. I don't think you guys realize how lucky you are to have those around you, even if they're small ones not far away and everything. So I'm extremely happy that those exist in this, in the area that I'm in. However, on the bad side, I live in Oregon. So Oregon, I love it. My favorite, it's my hometown, beautiful place. I love Oregon. But sports cards are not as much of a thing here as they are in other parts of the country, I believe. Portland is the only city that has regular sports card shows in the entirety of the state. And I live, down in the middle of the state. I live a couple of hours away. So when there's going to be a card show, I'm still going to go up there as frequently as possible. But there's only one card show that's like driving distance where I can drive there in the morning and still drive home in the afternoon up in Portland. If it's not there, then Seattle's the next closest. So that's like a 5-hour drive. That's tough to do. Maybe 4 hours, 4.5, something like that. That's tough to do if I want to do that one day. That requires an overnight. Then the next closest one is probably like down in San Francisco, which is really more like a flight. So there's not many sports card shows in the Pacific Northwest in general. So that's unfortunate. It is getting my mind thinking like maybe there's room for another one, and maybe my hometown, which has a big town, it's 200,000 people. It's like maybe the third biggest city in the state, and it's on I-5. It's a well-known place. Maybe this is a place for one to be born over time. So I am thinking about that, because I feel like there is a lack in this area, and clearly there's people, and clearly there's there's stuff happening. There's people in the hobby. You look at Facebook Marketplace, there's a lot of people like, looking to offload their junk wax era stuff, or there's, or people even selling blasters or whatever. Like, there's people who are in the hobby in this area, you just don't see them. So I kind of wonder if this might be a spot to start a show. On my mind. The next thing I wanted to talk about was, I guess it's kind of related to sports card shops and sports card shows, but just generally having people around in the community who are into sports cards and I can chat about sports cards with is unique. I haven't had that in like physical, like one-on-one conversations, being able to talk about cards with people at all. I've done it through the internet, I've done it through text messages or whatever, but not like in person, just chatting with people about cards and stuff, and I think that's a blast. So that's one thing I really have been enjoying on occasions since I've been back here. But at the same time, there's the negative, and you can see each time I have a positive, my negative is directly related to that positive. And this one is, I feel like a lot of times the sports card shops, the sports card shows I'm going to, they're not really organized in a way to make them a community building type of space, which I think is a missing opportunity. They're organized it to be transactional in nature, which is fine. I mean, I'm going there to transact too, but I feel like part of the joy and the spirit of the card show or the card shop is the the cheers, everybody knows your name kind of atmosphere that can happen within a community. And I feel like there's a lack of that, or it's been an oversight with a lot of how people are approaching the building of a card show or the card shop, something like this. I've mentioned a couple of the card shops in town here, like, one of them I go in there and every time it's like I immediately, I have a friendship with the guys. The other one I go there and I feel a little bit like I should not be there. Like, I feel a little bit like, oh, maybe I'm bothering them, like this is their home or whatever. Like, and so I feel like there needs to be some work done in the background to make an atmosphere that's really home-like and really inviting, and that has the goal of a community building type of space. I feel it's lacking here. I don't think that's lacking everywhere, but I think it's lacking here. That being said, it's also about finding your people. Like at the card show, I made a vlog a while back of the first card show I went to, and I was mentioning how in general it was difficult. There's so much going on. I tried to have a negotiation with the person about something, they wouldn't come down in price. There was no conversation. But then eventually over time I started to connect with a few people and be like, okay, here's somebody I can just like kick it with and talk cards, and then like we can negotiate about cards through the process as well, and we're building a relationship, and I'm buying cards. It's everybody's good, so it makes it a better atmosphere. If I ask for a like low ball price, he just kind of laugh it off. If he asks for a crazy high price, I laugh it off. There's no hard feelings. It's just like part of the conversation. It's fine, no problem. And I feel like in a community building space, it's much easier to have those kinds of conversations and to find situations that both people are happy with, the prices that they'll be happy to sell it, that they'll be happy to buy at, and it doesn't feel like a push and pull, but it just feels like a conversation and a process of negotiation in a good spirit. And I think that a community building space, as something that feels like a community building space, makes that so much more natural. And I feel like the card shows and card shops that I've been going to, with a few exceptions, are missing that a lot of times. The next one, which is certainly going to have both a positive and a negative, is I have access to eBay regularly now. Living in China for the past 15 years, eBay was the biggest hassle. I never used them. I shouldn't say that. I used them like 3 times, but it was just such a big hassle. It wasn't worth it. I just gave up on eBay altogether, and that's, more than anything, that was why I ended up going towards COMC, because I could do it from abroad without a problem. Now I'm back in the States, I have access to eBay, I have access to these other marketplaces, and it's really nice to have a variety of options of how to connect in. I could go onto Loop, I can go onto Whatnot, I could go onto MySlabs, I could go onto buysportscards.com. There's different places I can go and actually be able to buy something and get that card within a few days. That's awesome. On the other hand, buying cards on eBay is weird, and selling. Buying cards, if you find a good deal, it essentially feels like you're lowering the value of that card because you've happened to get a card that fell through the cracks a little bit, and then suddenly the perceived value of that card comes down to whatever that deal was that you had because you've created the new comp. It's weird. So that's one thing that I find weird about eBay. And as a seller, as everybody talks about, the fees are so phenomenally high. It's a little frustrating because I've been using COMC so long, and they charge fees that, when I really calculate, are pretty similar, but then they do all the work for me. Now, on the other hand, eBay stuff sells faster. Certainly the pace, if I'm trying to build up inventory to sell more quickly, to buy and sell a little bit more quickly, which I am trying to do, eBay makes more sense, but I miss I really long for doing more with COMC. It's just the pace is too slow, so I can't rely on that solely. I'm still sending stuff to COMC. You can see I made a video the other day. I sent 2,000 cards to COMC pretty recently, but I'm being more picky and choosy about what I'm going to be sending to COMC, and I'm doing more on eBay just because the turnover is quicker. So anyway, that's a positive and a negative. Now, I talked about this one, but I kind of want to look at it from another angle as well, and that is, being able to access Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, all these other different marketplaces is really cool to be able to look through. But on the negative side, I am finding the prices that people put, especially in Facebook Marketplace, to be so unrealistic. It's difficult to dig through and try to find something that's actually a reasonable offer. I would love to be able to go in and buy like a large scale collection. That's what I really want to do. I'm eventually probably going to be putting out a few advertisements, maybe in Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or wherever, to try to be able to buy some full collections. But when I go into Facebook Marketplace to see what people have posted and what the options are, the prices are ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Like, you see ridiculous prices on eBay every once in a while. It's like, here's a card posted for $1,000 that's recent comp is like $10. That happens occasionally where people are just trying to get some fool to make a mistake or to think something is really, really valuable. But on Facebook Marketplace, that seems like the majority of the things that are there. I was just looking today, I was scrolling through, it's like, here's a Wade Boggs card from like 1990 that's like an error card. It's listed for like $7,000 or something. This is like a 20-cent card. There's like things like that, or people trying to sell like a massive stash of Junk Wax era stuff, and they post a price of $300 when there's really $5 worth of cards there. Like, that seems to be the norm on Facebook Marketplace, which is really annoying to me, because I feel like that's the space where it's the local people. It's the people I would actually like to be able to meet in person, maybe buy a collection from them, or if they have a bunch of cards in a dollar box, like, just sitting in their garage, like I could go over and look through and find some deals. But it seems like everybody, 99.9% of what I'm finding on Facebook Marketplace is just people trying to find fools, and I am extremely frustrated by that. It's so weird. Now, the next thing I want to mention is I think it's really cool that I can go to a local Target or Walmart or something and find retail product to buy and rip some wax. Now, I don't do it that often. It's a losing proposition if you're trying to make money in sports cards, but it's a blast, and that was the big way I engaged with the hobby as a kid, so I still love to open a pack every once in a while. So I really love that I can go to some of these local shops. Of course, my sports card shops as well have something, but I could go to Target, I could go to Walmart. There's a few places I could go to, and Fred Meyer, and buy some cards. So that's really cool. But the bad side of this is I think this is another feature of being in Oregon, where there's not much of a sports card market compared to certain other places, a lot of other places in the country. When I go to Walmart, when I go to Target, the sports card selection is extremely small. And for one, it's like way back, like it's hidden. They're afraid that people are gonna steal things and stuff. And it's just like, at the local Walmart I went there, I could get like value packs of Donruss and Hoops. There wasn't even Prism, there wasn't any Optic, there was like nothing. It was Donruss and Hoops, value packs, and maybe blaster boxes, I can't remember. That was it. And then the Fred Meyer was even worse than that. They had a bunch of like non-affiliated, non-name brand kind of stuff, but nothing else. So I think this is a feature of this area. I think, when I look when I see people on Facebook or whatever post pictures of, it's just been restocked, and I see this massive amount of different cards and stuff, that just doesn't happen here at all. And it's a little surprising, because I am in a city of 200,000 people, but I think the sports card market in Oregon is just a lot less than it is in a lot of the rest of the country. The next thing I think is really cool is that I have a diversity of ways to engage with interacting with the hobby right now, which I think is good long-term for the benefit of my YouTube channel. And I find this to be important for me. I'm trying to nurture this thing. I'm spending a lot of time on it over the past year and a half, almost 2 years at this point. And I feel like now that I'm in the US, I have the opportunity to engage in the hobby in different ways, and I can make videos about it, which I actually am really happy about, because this is fun for me. But on the negative side of that, I have so much less time to work on my YouTube channel, because when I was in China, we had our own business. It was really, honestly, only took about 8 hours a week of my time, and it was making enough money to support the family and to be fine. So that's all I had to do. So, and then I was, I basically blocked off my afternoons 5 days a week, 6 days a week, to do stuff with my YouTube channel, not because I was going to be making money with it, because I bring in like 30 bucks a month from this thing at the moment, but because I just enjoy it, and I enjoy, you know, interacting with you guys, and I enjoy making these videos and talking about sports cards and just letting it all flow. So I do appreciate that I have more engagement with the hobby in different ways, but I have a lot less time to talk about it on this channel. You can even see, you know, if you've been watching my last few videos, I'm wearing the same clothes as I was in the last few videos. That's because I'm actually making a string of them all in a row, because I have time right now, but my schedule is much different here in the US. So that's one of the negative things. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what my life's patterns are going to look like here. So I think once the rockiness of the beginning stages ends, then I'll find little blocks of time. But I know I'm not going to have as much time to work on my YouTube channel as I did when I was in China, when it was like a part-time job for fun, a part-time volunteer job. So that's the negative of that positive. So anyway, that was it with this video. This turned into much longer. I know I can ramble at times, but I hope this was fun for you. It was fun for me to make. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.